We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. By the time you hear this, it will be Sunday. I'm recording it Saturday night on a Substack Live. It's been a while since I've done a Substack Live, so I thought I'd come back and check it out. I love coming to these things because folks out there are always willing to participate. I don't run into too many Trumplefucks, which is good. Um, and it's just kind of free and easy. I don't need moderators and all that sort of stuff. I can just come here and talk amongst ourselves and see what the fuck is going on. We're in the weekend after Christmas, so a lot of stuff is kind of in a state of flux. There is one thing going on Sunday that's going to be interesting. Probably won't be too productive, but it depends on who you talk to. We've got Zelensky going to Mar-a-Lago to talk to Donald Trump. We're going to work this whole Ukraine-Russia peace deal out, which is ironic because Donald Trump suggested that he would clean up war in 24 hours over the phone, and it would be no big deal. We're now going on 4 years into this thing, still going on. Donald Trump has had no luck. The problem Donald Trump has is he's supposed to be the mediator, but all he's interested in doing is convincing Zelensky to surrender to Vladimir Putin and let Vladimir Putin do whatever he wants. You can understand why that doesn't really cut it very well with Zelensky. And until he actually tries to mediate that and put some pressure on Vladimir Putin, it's never going to connect. And I doubt that this meeting is going to work either. I mean, that's the interesting thing. He'll meet with Zelensky, he'll meet with Vladimir Putin. In order to cut this deal, I would think you'd want them both together so you can work this thing out. But Vladimir Putin doesn't want any part of that, so here we go. Spacer said the world is a mess. We just need to play with the cards we've been dealt. And you're absolutely right about that. You know, people are looking for resolutions to everything that's going on. And the fact of the matter is there's no way to resolve everything that's going on all at once. Not going to go that fast. We've got to take win after win after win and hopefully continue down that pace and fix it ultimately. But Donald Trump has done so much damage to this country that we've got to get the small wins. First win would be nice would be if Donald Trump just choked on a Big Mac and shit himself to death on stage in front of national cameras. That's my first win that I'd really like to see. But some other things will be happening between now and then, and hopefully they'll put us in the right track. Vincent Johnny says so-called peacetime president attacks Nigeria on Christmas on a group he said was destroyed by him. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. That's the thing I found ironic, was that Donald Trump decided to bomb Nigeria because he was trying to do away with some ISIS group there that he alleged was committing genocide on Christians. You're exactly right. Donald Trump some time back told us he pretty much eliminated ISIS. So if he eliminated ISIS like he said, why would you have to bomb them again? And the idea that there might be some genocide against Christians going on, that's absolute bullshit. That's not what's happening. Donald Trump needs a distraction. The funny thing about this, he keeps going after distractions. Venezuela, bombing fishing boats, bombing Nigeria. Still, the first thing that everybody says, yeah, but what about the Epstein files? His attempts to divert or distract just aren't working anymore. And this is why Donald Trump is kind of fucking in a mess right now. And this is how it goes with narcissists. They keep doing the things that they always worked for them before. And when they don't work anymore, he doesn't know what to do. So he just fucking does everything. The crazier, the better. And that's a problem for him, certainly. But unfortunately, we have to deal with the fallout and all that bullshit. So it is a little frustrating. Let's see here. Spacer says, Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, said recently 2026 will be worse than 2025 for the world in terms of the global economy. Remember, she's far right in Italy. So, yeah. Yeah, with what Donald Trump has done, what isn't bad now will likely get worse later. The ironic thing is we had this information come out recently that the GDP went up by 4.3%, which is surprising given all the other things we've got going on, losses in jobs, prices going up, but the GDP is going up. That could be attributed to some of the AI bubble shit that's happening. But Donald Trump's economics guy, Hafford, who is just a weird motherfucker. He's a creepy little motherfucker who needs to blow his nose on occasion because he's got this nasally, he's got perpetual allergies or something. He's just a fucking weirdo. Anyway, he was asked a very poignant question because of all the bad things that happened. You'd always say, well, this is the Biden economy. This is the Biden economy. Then they start crowing about this GDP thing of 4.3%. And he was asked, so is it still the Biden economy or is this the Trump economy? Because if it's the Trump economy, then you got to take credit for all the bad things too. And of course, he said, well, the 4.3% is because of Donald Trump. Everything else is because of Joe Biden. Joe Biden hasn't been in office in almost a year now. When are you going to stop leaning on that? And if you're such a powerful president, why haven't you been able to fix all the Biden things that have come up by now? Are you telling me that Joe Biden was so weak, so pitiful, so feeble that he did all these things wrong? And once a powerful president like Donald Trump comes in, you can't fix that shit? Because you haven't fixed this shit. You can blame Joe Biden for these things. Okay, what are you doing about it? Because I don't see anything getting fixed. Fact of the matter is, it isn't Donald Trump. It isn't Joe Biden's economy. It's all Donald Trump. None of this thing happened. Keep in mind, we're losing jobs now, but during Biden's term, he created 15 million jobs. There are no jobs now, but there were during Biden. So how is this Biden's fault? It makes no sense. Stuart Cohen, very poignant point. He says, because Trump is a pussy. Yeah, I agree with you. He is a pussy. I mean, he is, you have to understand when he comes out talking strong like he does, this isn't a guy who's truly strong. This is a guy who is doing everything to cover up the fact that he's weak. He's a pussy. He's an idiot. And I got to think the Republicans that are around him are starting to get a little worried because he's doing some things that really don't make any sense, and it's hard for them to continue to support it. I mean, they will because they're afraid of Donald Trump, but even they are seeing now, wow, this is fucked up. Vincent Johnny says, don't know how long it will take for Canada and the United States relations to be back to normal. Trump consented constant attacks on Canada, having us forming a 300,000 member citizen army. The Trump administration will punish Canada if we don't pick the F-35 planes over the Gripen. It is getting tiring. It is. Some of the things that people aren't talking about is, Donald Trump thinks we have ultimate power over Canada, that Canada has nothing over on the United States. Well, I can tell you one thing that's kind of interesting as of late. There's a big distillery, Jim Beam, and they've had to close one of their big facilities in Kentucky, I believe, maybe not, Tennessee or Kentucky. They had to close it down. And one of the big reasons for this is Canada is refusing to buy any alcohol from the United States. Well, that's a big hit to distillers and alcohol manufacturers. And now they're having to close down facilities. That's thanks to Donald Trump. If you work in that industry and things aren't going well, you've only got one person to blame, Donald Trump, and because of the tariffs and because of the retribution and tariffs that Canada is making. Spacer says the oligarchs are riding high on the stock market now, but remember, that's what happened during the 1920s. then the crash happened, and if you have people like Elon Trump or the rest sticking their hands in other stock exchanges, we will be in for a world of hurt. But hopefully, it will cause the oligarchs to lose their fortunes, like the Vanderbilts um, or Rockefellers. Yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. I always liken what's going on with the oligarchs, how they want all the money. They're not happy with a lot of the money. They're happy with all the money. It's kinda like if you have a dog who just constantly eats, you fill the bowl full of food, he'll eat it quickly. Fill it again, he'll eat it again. This dog will eat till he explodes just because the food is there. And that's how I see the oligarchs now. They keep taking and taking and taking. At some point, they're going to break the middle class. And when they do that, who are they going to grift now? Where are they gonna get their money from now? They're gonna break the system and break the back of the people who is their main target, and then they won't know what to fucking do. Uh, a stock market crash may be a good thing to give those oligarchs a heads up to understand what they're doing is fucking hurting themselves ultimately. Trevor Lee says Trump is a whiny little scared pussy ass bitch and doesn't want the Epstein files released, but we only need one photo. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. You know, it's interesting. We have these hundreds of thousands of documents in the Epstein files. What we've seen is probably 3 or 4,000 of those files, and we already have tons and tons of pictures and connections to Donald Trump. And it's ironic that Donald Trump is now saying that, "Oh, those are all fake, and those were all planted by Joe Biden or the Democrats." I wanna see if you recognize a trend here. During COVID, Donald Trump told us it was a hoax. It wasn't a real thing. It was a Democratic hoax. Then he said, don't worry about it. It'll go away when it gets warmer during the spring. And then the entire time we had this pandemic, he did absolutely nothing, even though he's president of the United States. The country got shut down. I know they love to blame the Democrats, but because Donald Trump didn't do anything, the COVID thing got way worse than it needed to get. And of course, a million Americans died. But Donald Trump said it didn't exist. Then during the 2020 election, he lost, justifiably so. But he said it was rigged. He said the Democrats did something to steal it from him. They took it to court. They did investigations. Not one shred of evidence of that happening. But Donald Trump still crows about the fact that the Democrats stole it from him, and he won in a big way, which is absolute bullshit. Now what he's trying to sell us is that the Epstein files are coming out, and they should probably just stop because it's taking away time from the FBI and other people to do investigations in more important things like immigration. But what he's suggesting is Epstein files and the Democratic stuff, that's all true, but anything that was involving Donald Trump was planted by Biden and the Democrats. You notice the trend there? Constantly lying. Nothing negative for him is real. It's all fake. This is why I know these Epstein files are terrifying him. The other thing to note is if you watch his True Social, there's lots of things to talk about. He's usually kind of jumping around and you never know where he's going to go. He talks a lot about the Epstein files. This motherfucker is terrified of the Epstein files, and this is good. This is going to drive him nuts. Spacer, I like how the oligarchs also like to glorify the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts and Henry Ford like they were great men. They fell eventually, and soon it will be the oligarchs' time to fall. Yeah, some people like to glorify those folks. They aren't much different than the oligarchs today. They took advantage of people. They made their money on the backs of hard-working, normal people like those of us. And their demise, there's not going to be much empathy for them. Spacer, a lot of Republicans and establishment Democrats are sure running fast to run for state and local offices. A lot of races have been seeing wide fields because they're all quickly trying to get out of Congress. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They're trying to get the fuck out of Congress. They know what's coming, and it's not unusual for a certain party in Congress, to have a lot of resignations, and, when the party is known that they're going to get beat. So this isn't unusual. I think this will be extraordinary as far as how many people resign. I think after we get past the first of the year here, and we still don't have anything going with the healthcare things, you're gonna see a lot of people bolting the fuck out of here, and it should be interesting as to whether they just won't run for reelection or they'll leave early. I'm hoping some of these people leave early, and then it creates chaos in the House of Representatives where there's no real majority. You need 218 votes to have the majority, and it's not going to take long for the Republicans to lose enough to be under that 218 seat number. Vincent Johnny says when the Trump administration going pirating Venezuela's oil tankers cause a retaliation effect because when Iranians heard of the tanker getting taken, they went and took an oil tanker themselves in retaliation. Yeah, this stuff is not going to sit well with a lot of folks. It's one thing to pirate ships, but when you're stealing fuel oil or whatever kind of oil they're getting, people are going to get mad. There is going to be retaliation. I mean, you think about all the terroristic attacks we've had in this country, they're all retaliation for things we may never even have heard of, egregious things that America did to other countries. This is ripe for retaliation. You know, some kind of terroristic attack, or at the very least, somebody pirating our tankers. And then what do we have? We have fucking chaos. We have everybody going after everybody else, and it's complete chaos, which, of course, Donald Trump acknowledges that he loves fucking chaos. Make It Blue says Massey and Khanna should read the names of the co-conspirators on the House floor just to put it out there. Yeah, I hope they do too, because these people aren't going to hurry up putting these things out. Them coming out, you know, it's funny. Pam Bondi in January, February of last year told the FBI, I want all the files on my desk, every file. So they got the files, and now we're starting to see some of them. But then all of a sudden we hear, well, there's another million files, and we're going to get them from the Southern District of New York. But they didn't get the memo when it came out. I suspect those million documents or files that they got were always there. They're just trying to give some reason for their delays. Well, we would have gotten it out faster, but what the fuck? I think it's a delay tactic. It's a strategy that's um, not rare these days with Donald Trump. But here's the thing: I heard about those names. I saw one of the victims slash survivors being interviewed with some reporter, and they asked her, "Are you doing something? Do you want to expose the names?" She didn't say that they were doing that, but he said that they were talking and do have some ideas and some strategies. Now, these women to put the names out make no sense. They could put them in danger, at least legal jeopardy. Certainly could break them with these oligarchs, filing lawsuits or such. But if Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tom Massey, Ro Khanna, if they read these names on the floor of the House, they have complete immunity from being sued. So that's the place to do it. And it's always been said by MTG that she would get the names from the survivors and then she would repeat them. Be surprised if we don't see that sometime soon. And don't be surprised if there's some scared motherfuckers out there. Spacer says, I've been having a good time seeing clips of Turning Point and the infighting we're seeing there. Nicki Minaj and J.D. Vance saying that minorities should apologize for the way they look at white people and shouldn't need to apologize for something. Yeah, Nicki Minaj is a piece of shit. She goes and sides with Donald Trump, and does she really believe that? Who the fuck knows? There's a reason for doing this. Here's another reason for doing this. Apparently, her brother is in jail because of some assault on underage girl. I think even her husband had some experience with that too. She may be looking for a pardon for her brother, and she's willing to sell her soul, which she did, but it's also gonna probably cost her her career too, especially the way things it continues to go this way for the fact that she jumped on board and just going over it. She's not gonna do well at this point. Well, we got an interesting thing here. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Apparently, our internet is out, and just, we're just doing what we're doing here. I'm now on the cell connection, and I don't have a great cell connection down here, so it'll be interesting to see how this, continues, but okay, now the internet's coming back up, so I don't know what the fuck's going on. We're gonna continue to do this, though. I don't give a shit. Um, let's see here. The redacted files can be unredacted so easily. I don't know if they all can be unredacted, but there is a number of them that can be unredacted, and it's very easy because they were lazy or stupid in the way they did it. You know, basically, you can copy and paste it, and it will bring back whatever was redacted. I don't know that it's all the files, but it's enough to get a sense of what they're covering up. And so, well, we'll see what that, does. We'll see if they fix that too in future releases. I suspect there's going to be some more releases this week, but they're gonna try to drag this out as long as they can possibly do it. Um, Spacer says, "If that Larry Casserole story is true, didn't Congress subpoena him?" Not sure if that was, confirmed to be released from the file. I'm not sure what you're referring to there, Spacer. Please enlighten me a little more, and maybe I can offer some insights or at least what I know about it. Vincent Johnny says Trump killing the Kennedy Center with his dumb fuckery. The fuck? It looks like the internet came back on, and now I had a white screen for a little bit. Jesus fucking Christ! We've got an internet provider here that it's just shit. It's always been shit, and I think we're through it now. Let's see here. Okay, what Spacer was talking about was that letter from Jeffrey Epstein to Larry Nasser. They're saying, "Oh, that's fake." Well, my question is, if it's fake, why was it in the files in the first place? And if it's fake, why, even though it was in the files, the DOJ released it? Personally, I think they're surprised that it was in the files and that it was released. Well, maybe they knew it was in the files. I think what happened here was that they uh, they have some whistleblowers amongst them. And we've talked about this before. We've got the higher ups in the DOJ and the FBI that are fucking nuts and complicit with Donald Trump. But there are some rank and file folks that work in these departments that are getting a little nervous because they know they might be implicated with some of these illegal actions by these people. Um, and so um, there may be slipping things into this. They're putting things into uh, the files before they're released, unbeknownst to the higher ups, and then they're getting nervous and scared. You know, this is one thing that was said, I think, by Jamie Rashkin that there are people working in the DOJ and the FBI that don't appreciate what's going on, don't agree with what's going on. And he pointed out there is some whistleblower law that these people can step up and they can reveal some of the things that are going on and still be protected by the government. I understand how that might be concerning to some folks because, unfortunately, the Republicans hold power. Um, so it'll be interesting to see if we do get some whistleblowers who step up and speak out because there's got to be a lot of frustrated people um, that have spent their whole careers there. They want to retire. They want a normal life like everybody else, and they got to deal with this bullshit. And I could understand their frustration. Vincent Johnny said it was cold as fuck this Christmas week. Hit minus 40 to minus 50 below where I live. Where the hell do you live? I mean, I live in Minnesota and it was 30 above today. It was kind of nice out. Now we're supposed to get a snowstorm tomorrow. I've heard anywhere from 3 to 8 inches. And I'll be honest with you, what I knew from my past when I was younger, 3 to 5 inches, that's no big deal. That doesn't take long to clear out here because we're used to it. But I've been in conditions where it was minus 40 and minus 50, and if you can avoid going outside at all, probably a good idea. Vincent Johnny says Northern Territories of Canada. Fuck. I mean, I live in Minnesota. That's almost as far north as you can get in the United States. But the Northern Territories of Canada? Holy shit. Up by the Arctic Circle and shit? Of course it's fucking cold up there. It's winter, for fuck's sake. I respect what you're doing up there, and I have empathy because I've seen it before. I've felt it before. I remember one time I went to a comedy show. This was like in the 80s when it would really get cold here. Um, and the comedian came out, and he was clearly from LA or wherever he was from. And he said, why in the fuck would anybody want to live someplace where they can die by simply going outside? And there's some truth to that. That's my biggest fear when it's really cold. There's a family member that has a car breakdown, my wife, my kids, my grandkids, and it's cold as shit, and there's really no place to get coverage. Yeah, that I find that particularly frightening. Fairbanks has been getting got hard as well. Yeah, I can imagine. You're up there too. Let's see. Spacer says maybe after Trump is gone, we should pass a law to rename Dulles to the Barack Obama International Airport and the Institute of Peace or the Joe Biden Institute of Peace, while also taking down the garbage they hung on the Kennedy Center. Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. And, it's funny. There was supposed to be a jazz concert on Christmas Eve at the Kennedy Center. I'm not going to call it the other name because it's not legally that name. But they canceled. They said, if you're going to change the name to the Trump Kennedy Center, we don't want to play. And now the people at the Kennedy Center are all butthurt and they're saying, we're going to fine you $1 million. Well, how are you going to do that? You're not going to do that. You're just talking shit. You're trying to scare people who might have shows coming up so they don't bail on you too. But the attendance to the Kennedy Center is way down, like half. It's like what we've always said with Donald Trump. Everything that Donald Trump touches dies. And unfortunately, he's doing that to the Kennedy Center. I hope that once he's gone, since Congress is really in charge of naming that facility, they'll just take it down and it'll go back to being what it was and supposed to be, the Kennedy Center. That's how small this motherfucker is. That's important to him. The economy sucks. We've got wars that he said he would stop and didn't, but he's worried about putting a name on the Kennedy Center. And now he's talking about putting marble armrests on the seats. Really, is that what our president should be focused on when we've got all the problems we've got? I don't fucking think so. Derek said, "How about Vegas?" I haven't been to Vegas for a long time, but a friend of ours here on the podcast, Old Soul, lives there, and I know some other folks, and it's pretty stark there. People aren't going to Vegas. They don't have the extra money. It's very expensive to go to Vegas, and people are getting tired of it. Um, and that's devastating for a town like Vegas because their main industry is tourism and gambling and entertainment. If people aren't going there, there's a lot of people with a lot of problems. It's not just the big oligarchs, it's people that work in that industry, and they're going to be suffering too. And again, a lot of this can be attributed to fucking Donald Trump. Trump, Trevor Lee says Trump should be dragged to jail when he's taken a nap. Well, that wouldn't be hard to figure out. Seems like he's always taking a motherfucking nap, usually on national television. Um, when you look at the see what's Donald Trump is diminishing mentally because he has some sort of um, diminished cognitive abilities. Physically, he can't walk up and down stairs. He's got a lot of problems with that. And then when you throw on the potential um, pressures from what's going on with the Epstein files and all the rest, um, it's going to get to him. It's going to take him down. I don't know what's going on here now. I just want to give you a heads up. All the comments are gone now on my screen. That's all I need. No comment. Okay, here we got more. Thank you. Spacer says the Ohio manufacturing infrastructure here is rotting here. Ramaswamy is already drawing up plans for if he becomes governor for more data centers. You know, that's the thing. AI data centers. Okay, we need some of those AI data centers. But when it comes to manufacturing, Donald Trump promised he was going to bring back manufacturing. He said tariffs would bring back manufacturing. Unfortunately, that's not fucking happening. Just not happening at all. And Donald Trump is lying again. We need that manufacturing in this country. That's one of the problems we've had with this country. We don't make as much as we once did. And when we were at our strongest economically, we were big time manufacturers. But all the companies um, send it out to foreign countries because it's cheaper to do. And I understand that. But tariffs aren't the answer for bringing back manufacturing. It's not going to work. It isn't working. But Donald Trump insists that it is. The problem with the tariffs, though, I don't think Donald Trump's intention with the tariffs had anything to do with bettering our economy. I don't think it had anything to do with that. He should know better. People around him should know better that it's not going to work. But it's very handy for Donald Trump to walk into a country and say, we're going to put tariffs on you. Or you could just cut a deal with my son for whatever business he's in, give him a couple $100 million, and then I'll take the tariffs off. This is all a big carrot and a stick, you know? Donald Trump is going around the world with his family, basically coercing countries to give him money. This is little more than a big grip for Donald Trump. Maybe he thinks that when he's out of office, he can kick back and live with all the riches that he's stolen. The fact of the matter is I think most people, including Republicans, don't expect him to make it through this term. So all he's doing is leaving money for his family. That's assuming they don't go to fucking prison, because people like Eric and Don Jr. and Ivanka and Jared Kushner, make no mistake, they are breaking laws by what they're doing right now. If they could keep Donald Trump as president forever, keep Pam Bondi as attorney general forever, they might be safe. Probably would be safe. But you and I know that's not what's going to happen. Donald Trump will ultimately be gone. The midterms, there'll be a tidal wave of blue. That'll be the first step. And then in 2028, assuming they keep the power in the House and the Senate, they'll get a Democratic president. Then all these motherfuckers are in trouble because all these crimes have statute of limitations, but they extend beyond 2028. The only thing we have to be sure of is whoever they put in as Attorney General, they don't sit with their thumb up their ass like Merrick Garland for 2 years and then decide to do something. Day one, they get in, they start investigations, they start indictments, and they start taking motherfuckers down. That's the only thing we can accept. And if the Democrats win, that's the one thing we need to do is keep pressing that. Keep the pressure on the Democrats. Spacer says, I'm also questioning his aim, or if there is one, with this whole Christian genocide supposedly happening in the African countries. He's only pushing them into the arms of China and Russia. Israel just recognized the territory of Somaliland, and Trump seemed receptive to that, only causing another conflict in tensions, with his tensions erupting. Yeah. Well, what I heard about this Nigerian thing, he did that to kill ISIS, something he already said he did, and now he's doing it again. But I'm hearing reports that the reports coming from Nigeria is that the areas that he hit had nothing to do with fucking ISIS, nothing at all. Vincent Johnny says American exceptionalism needs not to be a thing. Heard stories of dull Democrats, don't understand why Canadians don't want to be the 51st state, thinking being a part of the states is a good thing. Well, this is what education and the government has done to this country. And it happens in all countries to a certain extent. We're the best, we're the good guys. God is on our side, everybody else is the enemy. No one's as good as us. That's kind of how Donald Trump thinks, But we know Donald Trump is absolutely wrong about it, and we as a country are wrong if we think we're the best. We're not the fucking best, especially with Donald Trump in office. We're not the best. We're not the good guys. We're the bad guys now. That's unfortunate. So you want to talk about American exceptionalism? There is none anymore. We're not exceptional at anything right now. And I don't mean to sound like I'm unpatriotic by saying that, but just look at the facts. We're not. And the idea that Canada doesn't want to be the 51st state? Fuck, who does? I would think Puerto Rico has even gone, yeah, we good. Yeah. Donald Trump always talks about how no one's coming into the country across the borders, that they're completely shut down. He was kind of successful in keeping illegal immigrants out of the country. But in order to do that, he had to make it a shitty, worse place to come than where they're coming from. People were coming from horrible situations in countries, dangerous situations in countries. Now he's made it for dangerous for any immigrants that come to this town, or this country. Now they don't want to come here. It worked, but you had to make the country a shittier place to be. I say either Letitia James or Jack Smith or AG. Yeah, or somebody of that ilk. Generally it's some political favor that somebody gets to be the AG. But I would prefer to see anybody that's willing to be aggressive get on the job and start indicting motherfuckers, because there's plenty of people to indict. Vincent Johnny, what about Palestine Christians getting genocide by Israel? Yeah. It's when you're in social media or in the mainstream media, if you say anything against Israel, you're immediately anti-Semitic. And I have problems with Israel. I don't have problems with the people of Israel or the country of Israel. I have problems with their war criminal leader. He's a bad guy. And because of this, the good people of Israel, are subject to what's going on. And I understand this completely because that's exactly what's going on in this country. We're good people. We want peace. We want the right things. We want to do the good things. But we have a war criminal, corrupt piece of shit leader. That comes back on us, both in Israel and in America, that we should have enough wherewithal to kick these fuckers out, not allow them to be in a position they're in now. But we do take ultimate responsibility for it. It has nothing to do with anti-Semitism for me. It has everything to do with people committing genocide. I'll be honest with you. If someone in my family was committing genocide, I would be against them. It just there's just no apologizing for that bullshit. I saw a limited series on Netflix called Death by Lightning about the election of James Garfield and his assailant, Charles Guiteau. Both parties always had their shady dealings. The show touched on Senator Conklin and VP Chester Arthur and the illegal dealings they were into. I saw the same show. It was actually very good. If you haven't watched it, you probably should. It gave us some insight about what's going on now. And it's something I've always said. You know, Donald Trump has just exposed a lot of corruption in our government. This corruption, there's always been corruption going on in our government. And when you watch that show, you see the dirty dealings of Chester Arthur, who became president because Garfield was shot. This guy was a drunken fucking fool. He ended up doing okay as president, but when you look at the things that were going on then, you can only imagine how much they advanced as time went on. I really believe that there's always been a lot of corruption, a lot of criminality in our Congress and in our presidency. It wasn't until the clumsy clod that is Donald Trump that exposed it all. Everybody before has been very adept at keeping it under the radar, but Donald Trump's too stupid to be able to do that. So in some respects, that may be good for us. We finally see the corruption. It's seen the light of day. And when we're in a position to fix it, at least we can clean it up because we now know it exists. Spacer says, I mean, there are genocides happening around the world now. Palestine, Myanmar, Tibet, Sudan. I could go on, and yet there are people who are short-sighted on what actually takes to get change. Well, you're absolutely right about that. The genocide is not just in Gaza; it's all over the world, and it's been all over the world like this for some time. I mean, this isn't new stuff. These horrible things. You know, you had Pol Pot. You had dictators all over the world committing genocide. And, you know, when I look at Israel and I look at some of the other genocidal territories that we've seen, I think we as a country, the United States, do have to get involved and kind of be the world police on it if we can. However, right now, we need to get ourselves healthy first before we can do any good with regards to all these other things. We have so many problems, so much difficulty, and so much hate and crime going on in this country. We got to fix us before we can help fix somebody else. I hate to sound like an isolationist. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we are pretty broken right now, and if we hope to do any good with any other country, we got to fix the fucked up shit we've got going on now. We can't ignore the atrocities going on in this country, whether it be the deportations. I mean, take for example the situation with 60 Minutes. They did a report on uh, the prison in El Salvador. And what's going on in El Salvador was horrific. There's beatings and torture and people dying in this prison. They're treated horrifically, and they were going to put this um, report on 60 Minutes, which at one time was a paragon of journalism, the one place you could trust to get down to the nitty gritty and expose things. But of course, then they decided they're not going to run it because the editor in chief is a big time Trump humper, doesn't really know what she's doing. She's never had a job like this before, and they pull it. But as always the case with Donald Trump and Trump-fucks, they always fuck up. So it ends up airing in Canada. Thank you, Canada. They end up taking it off pretty quickly, but not before people download it. And then it starts showing up on YouTube where they took it down again. But there's a lot of people that have this video. I have access to this video. I've seen it. And if this was any other time in history, and we found out that America was a party to the atrocities and the crimes that are being committed in El Salvador, that would be the biggest news story. That would cause a president to probably have to resign. But not in this world. Not where we fucking live right now. It's absolutely ridiculous. There's so many bad things going on that, these people in this country with low attention spans keep getting distracted to the next worst thing. But the fact that the United States of America are deporting citizens, treating immigrants who are here legally, deporting them, putting them in detention centers here in this country or El Salvador or wherever they go is just appalling. This is not who America was. But I will tell you this right now, this is what America is, and that's unacceptable. The whole Warner Brothers, Netflix, Paramount mess is a flagrant example of antitrust corruption and the political maneuvering for control over the media sources. I agree. There needs to be something with antitrust. You remember back with Teddy Roosevelt, he broke up a lot of stuff, and we had antitrust laws. Now they don't seem to matter. What I suspect is going to happen with the likes of the mainstream media, especially when we see something like what happened with CBS, people are going to become less trusting of the mainstream media. The mainstream media has another problem too. The people who are coming of age, the millennials, the Gen Zs, they don't sit and watch network television. They don't even watch the streaming media outlets. They get their information here on the internet, whether it be TikTok or Substack or YouTube or wherever. That's where they get it from. They don't sit down and watch a show for a half hour, 45 minutes, or an hour. They get their information in bits and pieces. The way they consume media is far different, and it doesn't work with the game plan of the mainstream media. The mainstream media is kind of like the Republicans. They know their time is short, but they aren't popular with the younger crowds. So they're trying to smash and grab whatever the fuck they can get right now. And hopefully it's enough to keep them alive. But the mainstream media, while it sounds like they're trying to take control, they're basically hurting themselves because old guys like me, the boomers who have been in control for a while, a lot of them are dying. I heard like 5, 6,000, maybe 10,000 a day. Good riddance, motherfuckers, you Trump fucking bastards. You deserve to take that dirt nap after a long life of hate, racism, misogyny, and anti-Semitism. Spacer says Trump says he'll have a say in the merger. Translation: Who bribes me more? Yeah, Spacer, I'd have to agree with you. See, Donald Trump can't help but want to be in control in the middle of anything that gets a notoriety. I think so much of this is going on, and so many other horrible things are going on. I think that merger won't get the kind of attention Donald Trump thinks it will. Will it happen? Probably will happen as long as Donald Trump has a say about it, and as long as somebody is willing to pay Donald Trump a certain amount of money to get it done. So I think it will happen. I mean, there's a lot of things in this country that have happened during Donald Trump's latest reign that we would have never imagined would have happened. We would have thought Republicans would have stepped up and pushed back, but they haven't. So to suggest whatever crazy thing might happen wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at all. Media has a conservative bias. Well, that's true, but you got to understand mainstream media. They're fucking whores. They really are. That's where they're getting their most money. If the Democrats came in and had oligarchs and had money, they'd be Democratic. There isn't a real um, integrity with these fucks. They do whatever they do to make money. And that's what they did with Donald Trump. Donald Trump was good television. He was a shit show. And they didn't want to kill the golden goose, so they didn't push him. And they rode that wave and made all kinds of money off of Donald Trump, and they still are. But with a guy like Donald Trump, things changed. They changed. And as much as they enjoyed building him up and taking him up the golden stairway, There's going to come a time, and we're close to it now, where it's going to become cool, popular, and profitable to tear the motherfucker down. And the Epstein files might be the start of that. So when that happens, watch this. These people who stood with Donald Trump, they'll be going after him like fucking vultures when he's on his way out. Trust me on this. They don't give a fuck about Republican or Democrat. They care about what's going to make them money. And when it becomes profitable to tear apart Donald Trump, it'll be unmerciful. I guarantee you. What's with some Democrats voting to let ICE do whatever they want when they capture kids? Here's what you need to understand. People want you to believe Republicans are the bad guys, Democrats are the good guys. The only true part of that statement is Republicans generally are the bad guys. We've got to eradicate them from what we're doing in this country. But the Democrats being the good guys, well, there are some that are good guys, but there are a lot of bad guys on the Democratic side. People are in bed with the oligarchs, the people on the Democratic side that held us back from um, from keeping Roe v. Wade where it's supposed to be. There are some Democrats that keep us from getting universal health because they get paid a lot of money from the lobbyists, from pharmaceuticals to medical to insurance companies. So don't fool yourself. There are some Democrats, and that's what I've always said. You know, what we need to do is eradicate the Republicans as quickly as we possibly can. But then we can't let up. When the Democrats in control, we got to bear down on those motherfuckers too, because there are some Democrats we need to eradicate as well. They're dealing with the oligarchs. They aren't representing us. They're working for the rich guys. We've got to decide who those people are, and we got to run them out of fucking town. Spacer says, Glusenkamp, Perez, Cuellar, Golden, the usual suspects. Yeah. You know, we always got on Manchin about him not really being Democrat, but there's a lot of them. They're not as high profile as Manchin was, but there's a lot of Democrats that are a problem. Cuellar, I mean, here's a guy that's been indicted for bribery, and Donald Trump gives him a pardon. Of course, he bums out about it because he thought he'd turn Republican just to pay homage and thank Donald Trump. He decided not to do that. Oh, big surprise. A criminal. A criminal stabs you in the back. What'd you think was going to happen, Donnie? See, there is no loyalty amongst these criminals. When Donald Trump becomes a liability, he's going to get kicked to the curb. They're going to kick his ass. The only reason they stick with Donald Trump is because they feel like he's an asset. Now, you got to remember back in 2016 when he was running for president, nobody, including Republicans, thought he had a serious chance. And the Republicans were talking shit about him. Marco Rubio talked shit about him. They all did. But the moment he got some traction, the moment he got some support, they said, oh, yeah, he's our guy. Because the Republicans, like I said before, they're in a kind of a precarious position. The young people are now going to be starting to take over, and they don't like Republicans largely. So when they found somebody who people would jump on board no matter what, they thought, we don't like this motherfucker, but he's going to keep us in office and make us some money, so we'll jump on board. Same thing as the media. It has nothing to do with what's right, what's good, what's true. It has to do with what's going to give you power and make money. And that's the essence of who the Republican Party is and why they stuck so strongly to Donald Trump. Vincent Johnny said, heard farmers' crops rotted in the field because of the lack of immigration workers. Not only that, they can't sell their shit, their soybeans or whatever, corn. Keep in mind what happened there. Donald Trump destroyed farmers and then bailed them out to the tune of $50 billion back in the first term. They vote for him again. He once again destroys their business and says he's going to bail them out. But then he didn't bail them out. So then he said, well, China is going to buy more soybeans, but China didn't buy more soybeans. So now he says he's going to bail them out to the tune of $12 billion. Unfortunately, that only covers about 25% of the problem. So what that means is that $12 billion will go to the wealthy corporate farms, and the family farms and the smaller farms will just die on the vine. I wonder how they'll like their vote then. Um, and there still hasn't been a bailout yet. They got to get it through Congress, and fucking Republicans are on vacation half the time. So I feel sorry for a lot of farmers out there. Um, but the farmers that voted for Donald Trump, you should have learned a lesson the first time. You fucked around and found out, and I'm sorry about that. It's not good for our economy. It's not good for a lot of people. But we need you motherfuckers to think. Be smart as opposed to just being tribal and wanting, well, I don't like Democrats, so I'm going to vote for a Republican no matter what. But you did that. You voted for Donald Trump and you got what you fucking voted for, unfortunately. It is also clear there might be something going on between Erica Kirk and JD Vance. She seemed excited in more ways than one to endorse him for 2028. I'm going to tell you something about Erica Kirk. That's one creepy bitch. She's got a track record that is a little troubling. Some people suggest she might even be an asset for Russia or Israel or whatever, and that would not be surprising. It's amazing how she um, ended up where she is. And now I saw her doing some show. Husband was assassinated. They got her on fucking wires flying out of the ceiling into the show. She wants to be fucking Lady Gaga. Didn't give a fuck about anybody. Vincent says he gave money to Argentina, who sold their soybeans to China. Exactly. Not only did he cut off the market of the soybean providers here in this country, he also made sure they'll never get their money back because they're going to continue to buy it from Argentina. Spacer said we should also take notice that a lot of the cuts from the Big Beautiful Bill are taking effect this coming summer. I bet you see a lot of Republicans trying to rescind a lot of amendments in that bill. Yeah, they probably will. And it just goes to show they didn't want to vote for this stuff. They just wanted to win. And they didn't care if it was going to affect people, or they thought they could pull back on it later and try to be the fucking hero. The first thing it's going to be is January 5th when we decide whether or not they're going to vote for um, uh, whether or not they're going to vote for the extension of the ACA subsidies. If they don't do that, if they don't get that done, that is going to be devastating for a lot of people in this country, but it's going to be absolutely devastating for the Republican Party. 57% of the people on the ACA are in red states. So you motherfucking representatives and senators, go back to your states, see how well they like it. They don't even like you as it is based on what's going on. They're going to like you even less. And if you don't think that's going to translate into a devastating or a huge tidal wave for the blue in 26, you're fucking stupid. Spacer says Erica is working with Nicki Minaj to write a Charlie Kirk song. Cardi B and Lizzie already said it. Nicki needs money. I think Nicki needs money. I think she's got relatives that need pardons. I think that's part of it too. Nicki Minaj has pretty much ruined her career. I don't know. She's going to find another way to grift. Erica is losing ground with Turning Point USA, and oh, big surprise. We got all these people in Project 2025 that look at women as second-class citizens. You think they're going to let you run the show at Turning Point USA? Fucking doubt it. Nicki Minaj does not have a green card, illegal immigrant, so money must be her savior with the GOP. Absolutely. Absolutely. Students are at risk of defaulting if they make the cuts due to this bill this summer because the loan caps to block out new students from borrowing. Now the administration is talking about wage garnishing students. That is probably the dumbest thing they could possibly do. I've often said that, they should forgive all the student loans, and here's why. The millennials and Gen Zs are gonna be taking over this country, not only politically, but economically. You got a bunch of kids who are saddled with ridiculous loans. They owe too much money. On top of that, they're getting out of college and they aren't getting paid shit. So what's that mean? They can't buy anything. They aren't gonna pay much in the way of taxes because 'cause they're not making enough money. And you dumbass boomers who say, "Well, I paid my bill, we gotta make them pay their bill." I got news for you, boomer. That house you live in that's now paid off, that you wanna sell and downsize later on, kinda like I did, um, when that happens, you count on that house, the money, the proceeds from that house to help you with your, um, retirement. That's what most people do. They sell their house, they have some money, and they make it easier on themselves in retirement. But here's the deal, dudes. If the people who are in a position or at a time in their life that could buy your house, if they can't afford it or they can't qualify it, guess what? Your little retirement fund gets cut, maybe in half. Maybe you can't even fucking sell it. So you're cutting your nose off to spite your face, you stupid motherfuckers. Spacer says, send Nicki Minaj back to Trinidad. Yeah, I granted, I'm an old motherfucker, and Nicki Minaj is not my my cup of tea, musically speaking, but she seems like a street urchin who got a little lucky, and her talent is limited at best. At best, I don't know how young people feel about Nicki Minaj. I'm not a fan. Not a fan at all. She won't get sent back to Trinidad, though. Donald Trump will never do that. He's not against illegal immigrants. He's not against illegal immigrants. If he was, and he's not against drugs either. If he was, why did he release that former Honduran president who was a humongous drug dealer? He gave him a pardon from prison. You know what else he did? El Chapo. You know who El Chapo is? A big drug kingpin from Mexico. He's in jail right now in Mexico, I believe. Um, so Donald Trump can't pardon him. But what he did do is he allowed the entirety of El Chapo's family just to come into the country. I would presume they're not legal immigrants, certainly not yet. And he just said, "Yeah, come on in, you big crime family, come on in." And but wasn't Donald Trump supposed to be stopping the criminals from coming into the country? And now he's welcoming them with open arms only because they placate his insecurities? Fucking ridiculous. Spacer says she lost relevance. I think this might also be her attempt to get a new peek at her fame. Though even for me as a Gen, she still isn't my cup of tea either. People have to understand if they're latching on to Turning Point USA or Donald Trump or the Trump administration thinking this is going to be their savior and going to make them money in the future, you got on too late, motherfucker. Too late. This thing is dying on the vine. Donald Trump can't even toll an audience to the Kennedy Center, for fuck's sake. Donald Trump isn't an asset to anybody anymore. He's little more than a liability, and people need to recognize it before it's too late. You're not going to gain any money. Rouser CW says, I agree, Spacer, not my cup of tea either. Vincent Johnny says, heard a story that a white South African got detained in an ICE facility. Yeah, imagine that. Those are Donald Trump's favorite people. He also said, why can't we get more immigrants from Norway or Sweden? Why the fuck would they want to come there? Here, have you ever been to Norway or Sweden? I never have, but I'm of Swedish and Norwegian heritage. I'd like to go there. a much nicer place to live than America at this point. I'm sorry to say that. And you know what? In addition to being a nicer place, they have a more socialistic or democratic socialistic country anyway. They take care of their fucking people. America does not take care of their people. Spacer says she had one successful song, then that was it. I don't even know what that fucking song is. I probably don't like it anyway. But yeah, I think Nicki Minaj's career was fading, and I think she just sunk it permanently. Didn't they? Didn't they check social media? A Norwegian tourist a while back. The Norse countries are the happiest countries statistically on Earth. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised by that. They have a country, they have a little money, and they take care of their people. What's the big fucking secret? This isn't a surprise. People in our government know this would be the best way to do it. Republicans know it. They refuse to. Democrats know it. Some of them refuse to. And it's all about themselves and how much money they make, not about us at all. In Denmark, decommissioned buses having been converted into mobile grocery shops, bringing fresh food directly to elderly residents in rural areas. What a fucking concept. Feed our elderly, take care of our elderly folk. You'd never see that in America. I mean, we had Meals on Wheels, but isn't Donald Trump cutting that now? We can't afford to feed elderly folks that are struggling. We can't afford to give kids lunches when that may be their only food. For fuck's sake, what kind of country do we live in? That's what I'm saying. Country we've always been told it's the greatest country in the world. But with the things going on in this country right now, I'd debate that. I mean, I'm American. I was born in America. I love America that I lived in. But I'm absolutely ashamed of what we live in now. I'm appalled. Spacer says, I still remember the one Fox News host who went after Denmark, calling them socialist hellscapes. The Danish foreign minister posted a rebuttal about how they lead the world providing for their citizens. Every foreigner that has dual citizenship goes back to their country for major medical treatment because it's cheaper or free. Absolutely. I mean, I'm here because I live here. My family's here. I've always been here. But if I had the choice, find my family somewhere else, I wouldn't think twice about getting out of here. I mean, they're trying to make this country every man for himself. And at this point, better options are like the Scandinavian countries or Europe or something like that, because or China or Japan, they treat their people much better. And why we haven't figured that out as yet, I don't fucking know. The only thing is that the oligarchs are so tapped in and got their claws in so deep into our government that we will never get the help as long as these people think they can grift off us. That's why sometimes I think, we maybe need to just level the whole government and start over, because it may have been a good idea initially. It may have been something that made a lot of sense, but it's been so long in the works that it's become polluted. It's become tainted. And because of that, we're in the situation we are now. We need to fix that situation and try to make the country exactly what it's supposed to be. But we have many people, Republicans and Democrats alike, that want to keep things as it is. I mean, a good example is the healthcare situation. There is no excuse for us not having universal healthcare or Medicare for all. Every other industrialized nation around us and below us has universal healthcare. Like Israel, we send them tons of money. $300 billion every year. For what? I don't know. But they have socialized medicine. They have universal health care. Argentina, we sent them $40 billion or more. They have universal health care. But somehow we can't afford it. Seems fucking ironic. Canadian tourists having to provide proof that they are Canadian in foreign countries because a lot of the countries are not liking Americans. Yeah, I mean, I would love to travel overseas. I'd love to go to Ireland, but if you go to those foreign countries and the hate view, you can understand it. I mean, hopefully they understand it's not most Americans, it's the leadership. But when this country puts other countries in a bad situation financially, you can understand why they might be angry with us. I'm not going to go over there and poke the bear and piss them off. Spacer says that's what the Gen Z protests in other countries have been doing. We need a reset button for how we structure this government. I agree, Spacer. We've got to change it. It's not working. Um, Getting bankrupt over a simple ride in an ambulance. Absolutely. You I've seen bills for ambulances, and it's fucking ridiculous. You might as well call an Uber for fuck's sake. James says this country is tainted with corruption and people who are trying to rewrite history. They might as well tear down Ellis Island. Yeah, that's exactly right. They're trying to change history so that the younger folks don't understand what we had and why we had it. They want to change it to their narrative, which is absolutely draconian. We're getting down to the later stages of this live, and I want to thank you all for participating and taking time to talk to me on this Saturday night. As I said, we got a snowstorm coming in. I don't know what the fuck's going to go with that, but we'll see. Spacer says Maxwell Frost said it. Tear down the Statue of Liberty. We don't deserve it. Give it back to the French. Sadly, he's right about that. And I do like Maxwell Frost. He's one of these young people that are in Congress that are going to be leaders down the road because, as I've said, the the boomers are dying off, thankfully. Some Gen X's are getting older too. And it's the millennials and the Gen Zs that are going to run this country. They should have the right to determine their own destiny. We don't need old fucks like me deciding what young people are going to have to live with long after we're dead. That's ridiculous. That's stupid. And hopefully the millennials and Gen Zs will step up and take control and try to fix whatever old people fucked up at this point. All right. We're going to wrap up the Rational Boomer podcast. We're going to wrap up the Substack Live. Again, I want to thank you all for taking the time to talk to me today. Makes it way more interesting. It's always fun to do a live on Substack. I'll be doing another one sometime in the not too distant future. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for stepping up. I appreciate the time you spent listening to me. I really do. And I hope you have a great day. And we'll talk to you one way or another tomorrow. Happy New Year.